Okay, it is day 8 today in Algebra 2, and I will say this again, even though I already said it to you. EVSC is out of school today. There are 7 of us here. We're not going to learn new stuff because of that fact. Lots of us are gone. So we're going to do a little bit of review. This is day 8. Notes. And after our little mini lesson, I'm going to give everybody time to catch up on things that they need to catch up on. And if you don't have things to catch up on, then you just get to leave a little early. So it is April. Is it the 3rd today?
Yep.
Perfect. Thursday, April 3rd. Okay. So we just took a quiz this week, and we yesterday started talking about quadratic equations. So we're going to talk about that again. Just a quick review of that concept. And I'm going to abbreviate the word equations. So if you're wondering what this means, this is equations. It's just I wasn't going to have enough room to write it. Okay, so let's look at, let me see, hang on, I'm going to pause this and grab that worksheet. Okay, so on our worksheets, we have some trinomials, some quadratics. Just because the text is so small on it, I'm going to be using this more so to give me numbers and problems, and I'm going to be rewriting them on my paper. Good morning. Let me pause this. So I am going to go ahead and rewrite number 1 on my notes, but I'm going to use X instead of B. So we have x squared plus 8x plus 7, and we are going to write at the end of this equals 0, because now we're looking at equations, not just expressions. So if we want to solve by factoring, that means we need to factor first. What should we look at before we factor? A, B, and C. We know it's ax squared plus bx plus c. So A is in the first term, B is in that second term, and C is the third. Now, whenever my A, my first term, is 1, what will my factor pairs look like? Yep. X. It could be plus 8. We're going to wait just a minute to figure out what the numbers are. I want to think first about what will the first thing be in both of these parentheses. We have an X and X. Beautiful. Okay, so X and X. Now, what's happening? What am I about to do? Factors of C. Now we need to figure out what numbers go in the parentheses. We need 2 numbers that when I multiply them together, we get 7. When I add them together, they should be 8. So factors of 7 are 1 and 7, 7 and 1. That's it. What happens when I add these numbers together? They equal 8. 1 plus 7 equals 8. 7 plus 1 equals 8. So we could do either one. Both are correct. So what do I do with these numbers? Plug them in. So I have x plus 1, x plus 7. We factored. We're done with that part. So now we have our factor pairs, but it's still equal to 0 this time. So from here, if I want to solve this equation, what do I do next? The rainbow method. So we would do the rainbow method if we were still trying to figure out if we have the right numbers here. But we already do have the correct numbers, because even if I did the rainbow method, I've got, yeah, 1x and 7x, and they do add up to 8x. So technically you could do the rainbow method if you just wanted to be super sure that you have the right answer. So I've got that. And then what did we do yesterday to find the value of x? How did I...
We brought it down to make it equal to 0.
Yes, I'm going to take each factor, x plus 1 and x plus 7, and I need to pull them out and create two equations. The first one will be x plus 1 equals 0. The second one will be what? Good, x, good, plus 7 equals 0. And the great thing about quadratic expressions is, for the most part, and at least until I tell you different, it's always going to be equal to 0. Always. Okay, so I have my two equations written. How do I solve them? We'll start over here.
1, negative 1.
Yep. So I have a plus 1. We want to cancel that by doing minus 1 on both sides. And then what do I do? Yeah, I'm subtracting. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. So that is one of the values of x. Pause. Okay, so we just factored this equation. We found that x is negative 1. What's the other value of x going to be? Negative 7. Good. So these are our answers. We can circle them separately, or if you want to keep everything together, we could rewrite it as x equals negative 1, comma, negative 7. And we'll circle it. And that is our answer. So it's really just one more step. It's not too bad. Do we have any questions about that? Okay, do we want to try a trickier one? I know some of us were wanting to see some problems where our A is not 1. Anybody benefit from that? I think we should. Let's flip to, let's look at number 16. That's on the second page of the worksheet. Number 16 right here, 5n squared plus 10n plus 20. I'm going to rewrite the problem with x though instead. So number 16 on the worksheet. So I'm writing 5x squared plus 10x plus 20 equals 0. Okay. So I have a quadratic equation here, and I want to solve it for x by factoring. How are we going to factor this?
We're going to divide it.
Yes. What's that called?
The greatest common factor.
Yes, we're going to look for a greatest common factor. Since our a is not 1, we want to try to reduce it to 1 if at all possible by dividing. So we want to find a greatest common factor. And how can we do that? What are we going to do to figure out what I can... We can divide by 5. I always say look at the smallest number, see if I can divide everything by that. 5 works. These are all divisible by 5. So we'll divide everything by 5. And what do I do next?
Put the 5 down.
I'm going to bring that 5 over to the side, because if I divide everything by 5 here, it's going to make my new expression in the parentheses different. And if I just lose that 5, then it's not the same problem as before. So we're going to keep the 5. And what goes next?
X2.
Good. We got x to the second power plus, good, 2x plus 4. And it's still equal to 0. So we've reduced it. What should I do next?
On your A, B, and C.
Yeah, let's look at A, B, and C. So my A is 1 now. That's nice. That'll make things a little easier. My B is 2 and my C is 4. So I have my A, B, and C. Now I want to think about, before I start figuring out the factored pairs, I want to know what my factored pairs are going to start with. What will they look
5x.
like? 5x, like 5x written inside the parentheses?
Yeah.
Yeah? Is there a 5 inside the parentheses here?
Oh, I can't see it.
Oh, you got your glasses off. So you're right in saying 5x, but we want the 5 to be outside the parentheses still,
So this is X.
and then x. Good. So we have 5x by itself, and in the other set of parentheses, x again. Good. Okay, and what will go in here?
The numbers 1 and 4 and 5, 2.
Ooh, 1 and 4. Here, let's see. How do we look? What are all our options?
1 and 4, 2 and 2.
1 and 4, 2 and 2, 4 and 1. Something's not right here, is it? Is this one gonna work?
No.
I don't think it is, because no matter what, none of these options are going to add up to 2x, are they? That's tricky. 1 and 4 is 5, 2 and 2 is 4, 4 and 1 is 5. Even if I checked it with the rainbow method, I just have x and x here, so nothing's going to work. This one's not factorable, is it? It's not. This one is not factorable. We can factor out a 5, but that's really all we can do. So this is a problem where if we wanted to solve it, we would have to use something I haven't taught you yet, the quadratic formula. Okay. We could learn that today, but I don't want to overwhelm you guys. Do you want me to just at least show it to you? I'm not going to expect you to know how to do it until next week, but are you curious? Okay, I'm going to teach you. This is the thing that I told you about yesterday, where I might make you sing a little bit. Now, obviously, I'm not going to make you, but this was the best way when I was in high school to learn this, was we learned it in a song. So I'm going to go to the next page here, and I'm going to write down the quadratic formula. And I'll be honest with you, if you've never seen this before, it's going to look really scary. And it might feel a little scary using it for the first time, but I find when I learned the quadratic formula in high school, it felt like a relief compared to factoring, because a formula, you guys know what a formula is? It's like I tell you different letters and we're just plugging numbers in and typing things in a calculator. You don't have to do a lot of thinking. It's more so just plugging things in. So this will be page 2 of our notes. And we're going to learn about the quadratic formula, because why not? Now, if you like to use the quadratic formula, you will never have to factor again, because this can replace factoring. And here is how it works. We have, and we need to make sure we have this perfectly, so I'm going to do it slow. X equals negative b plus or minus, this is a new symbol, plus or minus the square root. So we have negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus, and then in parentheses, 4 times a times c and all of that is divided by 2 times a. There it is in all its glory. The quadratic formula. Yeah. Yes. Why did I put the multiplication symbol? It's a good question. I don't know. I don't normally write the multiplication symbol when I teach this. I don't know why I did that just now. I think it was just because I was speaking it out loud, and so I wrote it as I said it. The more simplified version, I'll rewrite the formula without the symbols. It's the exact same thing though. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. So normally you're not going to see the multiplication symbols, so I appreciate you pointing that out. Normally we're just going to see the numbers next to the letters. This is the quadratic formula. And I will show you how we use it. Now, this is a long formula, and I don't typically expect you guys to memorize anything in here. However, the song that I was referring to is a song that helps you memorize the quadratic formula, because since there are so many parts that you need to plug numbers into, knowing it really well makes it so much easier to use rather than having to go back and double check every single letter that you're writing. So we have you ever heard like one of those wind-up toys, and it's like do 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 do, pop goes the weasel, pop goes the weasel. So we learned a song to the tune of Pop Goes the Weasel when I was in high school, and it helps us remember it. So I'm going to throw it back to my music teaching days. That's what I did before this. And I want you guys to echo me, okay? If you don't want to sing, I'm not going to make you. You're not going to get in trouble. But echo me, and we're going to do this to this formula. So ready? X equals negative b.
X equals negative b.
Plus or minus the square root.
Plus or minus the square root.
Of b squared minus 4ac.
Of b squared minus
Good.
4ac.
All over 2a.
All over 2.
Yeah! Come on, y'all. That was good. That was good. Can we do it again?
Yeah.
Okay, ready? X equals negative b. Oh, there we go. Square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. One more time, here we go. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Yay! Awesome. Okay, so it feels a little silly, but if you can get that tune stuck in your head, it really will make it easier for you to use this. I found it made it a lot easier because memorization is tough, and looking at a formula that you don't know very well is also tough. So get that stuck in your noggin, it might help. Anywho, I'm going to show you how to use this now.
You didn't use that on the video?
I did. So I guess technically you could go back and watch it later, but whatever. Okay, let's look at that number 16. This is not factorable, so this is what we will do to solve it. I'm going to rewrite it over here on this page, and that is 5x squared plus 10x plus 20 equals 0. And we're going to color code because I find that helpful. You guys should have lots of different colors at your desks in those little twirly pencil bins. So you're welcome to use them, although that is entirely up to you. So I'm going to use some highlighters just to help me keep track of my numbers. Let's make A orange. And what's my A in this equation? 5. So I'm going to highlight 5 with orange as well. Okay. Next, let's do B in purple. I hope it's not too dark. So my B we have right here on the outside. We have B here on the inside. And what is B in our equation? 10. Good. Okay, now let's look at C. C only gets used once in the formula, right there. And what's our C in our equation? 20. Good. Okay, so already just by highlighting some of the letters and numbers, this looks a little bit less scary, I think. Just because I know I'm just going to match purple to purple. Anywhere that I see B, that's where 10 goes. Anywhere I see A or orange, that's where 5 goes. If I see C or blue, that's where 20 goes. So let's slowly start this process of plugging numbers in. So I'm going to write X equals, and we'll start one item at a time. I have negative B. 10 is B. So what should I write here? Negative 10.
It's going to always be negative?
It will always be a negative sign in front of whatever the original sign is. So if this was minus 10x, it would be negative 10, which really means positive 10. So this means whatever your B is, we make it the opposite sign. That negative is going to change it. So B is positive 10, but we want negative B, negative 10. Okay. So we plugged in our negative B. Next we're going to write plus or minus. And next we'll draw a square root symbol. Okay. So we've done negative B plus or minus the square root. Now I have B squared. What do I write next?
You can still make it a negative 10.
So here we don't do the negative anymore. Only plug it into the formula exactly how it's written. So the only reason we made this negative is because there's a negative sign in front of B here.
Okay.
So we did negative sign and then B, 10. Now here, I just need to write B. What's my B? 10. So 10, and it's squared. So I'm writing squared. And how about this? I'm going to highlight as we go as well. And it might be helpful to write down the letter names. So I'm going to write, this is B, this is A, this is C, okay. So up to this point I have negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared. Negative 10 plus or minus the square root of 10 squared. What comes next in the formula?
Minus 4.
Good. Minus 4. What?
Times
Good.
5.
Times 5. So what I do here is I am going to write 5 in parentheses for A to show that we're multiplying. Yes, times 20. So I'll write it in parentheses again. 20 for C. And all of that, the whole thing, divided by 2 times what? 5. Good. So even though this visually it looks scary, I think it looks really crazy, but in terms of figuring out what numbers to put where, I think this is a lot easier than factoring. It depends on how your brain works. This might be way harder to you. Factoring might be way harder to you. Everyone has a different preference. I personally love this because I'm just putting pieces in a puzzle. I'm not having to think, well, what numbers do I need to put? Because they need to be adding up to this and multiplying to this, and then one needs to be positive, one's negative. I'm just putting what I see in the spots they tell me to. I find that a little bit less scary personally, but, you know. Say that one more time. We will plug it into a calculator, but we have to make sure that we do things in the right order. That's where this gets difficult. So we will talk about that next. So we have everything plugged in. Now, we are going back in time to pre-algebra. The order of operations. This is important, okay? The order of operations. I have a poster up at the front of the room, and I'm gonna write it on a sticky note. We're gonna write out the order of operations, because we've been using, since the beginning of the time that I've seen most of you, we've been solving equations and doing the opposite for everything. We've been trying to undo things. Now we're trying to do things the right way. We're not going backwards anymore. So the order of operations tells us P-E-M-D-A-S. That's PEMDAS, okay? So the P stands for parentheses or grouping symbols like brackets. That could also be talking about something like a square root. We're going to consider that square root to be like a grouping symbol. Okay, so this means we need to do what's under the parentheses first, or under the square root first. Now, which part of that are we going to do first? We're going to go down the line. What's E stand for? Exponents. So that would be like our x squared. So exponents. Next, M and D, what's that? Multiplication and division. These are grouped together. And A and S is addition and subtraction. Okay, so using this order of operations, let's very slowly work through this problem. So we know because parentheses and grouping symbols comes first, we want to look at what's under the square root. So we're looking at all of these numbers. We have 10 squared, and then we have minus 4 times 5 times 20. What should we do first here? The 10 squared. So on, what'd you say? It wouldn't be 20. That would be 10 times 2. Let's talk about what squared means for just a moment. So when you square something, you're taking it times itself, meaning, yes, 10 squared means 10 times 10, which is 100. We can also type in our calculator if we wanted to. We could either type 10 times 10, or I can type 10, and then there is a square button right next to 7 on the calculator over here on the left side. It just is a X with a little 2. We type in our number, we push that button, and look at that, 100. Calculators are useful. Please feel free to use them. So 10 squared is 100. Let's go under our problem, and I'm going to start by drawing just that square root symbol, and I'm going to replace 10 squared with 100. And something I like to do is once I've solved a part of a problem, I cross it off so I don't accidentally think I am not done with it. So I crossed out 10 squared because we're done. Now we have minus 4 times 5 times 20. So we could put that in our calculator too. What is 4 times 5 times 20? Oops. 400. Good. So we're going to write 400. 100 minus 400. The square root of that. Okay. Now, I know that under my square root, I still need to do 100 minus 400. What's that going to give me? Negative 300. Good. So I'm going to move down one more step and say, now I have negative 300. So we've done everything under the square root. We're done with that part. What should we do next? The 2 times 5. What is 2 times 5? 10. So I know that at the bottom of my fraction here I have 10. So I'm going to cross that off. And what's left to bring down? Good. Negative 10. And there's something else. Plus or minus. Now, I picked probably the worst problem to show you as the first example, because what happens in this example is we have a negative number under a square root. If you don't know, well, first let me ask, does anybody know what's wrong with a negative number under a square root?
No.
That's all right. Does anybody have like an idea, maybe? Any idea? You would think it would make it just negative. This is an issue because this does not exist. This is where we would get into the realm of what are called imaginary numbers. that's the next part of things that I don't want to talk about yet because we're gonna get overwhelmed. We will get overwhelmed. It's a lot. So for the sake of this problem, we're gonna ignore it for now and just keep it as a square root. If you were to type in your calculator, let's see, I'm gonna hit the second square root button, negative 300. I think it's going to give me like an answer that says it's an error. Yeah, it doesn't work because that doesn't exist.
The calculator on my phone says keep it real.
Keep it real, yes. We need real numbers, not imaginary numbers. So this is a whole nother thing and we'll talk about it later. But now we're to this point. We have simplified everything almost as much as we can. So I'm just going to bring down that x equals. And here's what our next step would be. Once we have gotten everything under the square root simplified, we simplified everything on the bottom, we are now going to do something interesting and separate this into two equations. Now, the reason we're doing that is because of the symbol here, plus or minus. Now I have, and I'm going to use colors, the plus portion would be negative 10 plus the square root of negative 300 over 10. And can you guess what I'll do on the other one? Say that again. So we won't change the 10 actually. So here's what we're going to do. Notice how we have that plus or minus. I'm separating it into the plus and the minus. I'm not going to change any numbers. I'm just going to separate that plus or minus. So now I have negative 10 plus all of the everything else, and then I have negative 10 minus everything else. So, here we go. Now we are here. And as crazy as this looks, it's not too bad if we don't get a negative number under our square root. I'm going to say, for this problem, because we're not ready to look at imaginary numbers yet, let's just pretend that these are positive under here, the 300s, and let's finish the problem that way. So, now that I've separated my problems, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to look at my plus first. Negative 10 plus the square root of 300. I'm going to type that in my calculator. Negative 10 plus second square root 300. Just like that. And we get, yes, perfect, 7.32, bunch more numbers. So now we have 7.32 over 10. And now I'm going to take this number that I got and divide it by 10. Because that's what is left, divide by 10. And we get 0.73. We'll just keep two decimal places. 0.73. And that's your first value for x. You would have never found that by factoring, ever, because we only use whole numbers. So, we just did the top part, simplified it, divided it by the bottom, we got our answer. Now we have to do it one more time over here. So the only difference in the next problem, we would do negative 10 minus the square root of 300.
How do you plug the square root button on here?
So the square root button is, you'll push second, the blue button, and then the x squared button.
I got it. Thank you.
Good. Does everybody see that? Does anybody need to see that again?
I don't have that on my test yet.
You don't have it on yours? Do you want to show me? Let me look. I bet you do. I bet it's just different. If you bring it up here, I'll look at it.
Mine's weird.
Yours is different than ours, but I like your calculator. It's fancy. Okay, square root, where are you? Okay, you have it. It's just in a different spot, it looks like. Okay. Clear. All right, so yours, you're going to hit shift and this button, it looks like. Or, oh, wait a minute. You just have a button. You don't have to hit the second button. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's that one right there.
Okay.
There you go. Okay, so for the next problem, I have negative 10 minus the square root of 300. And we get negative 27.32. Negative 27.32. And is that my answer?
Divide it by 10.
Still need to divide by 10. Good. So I'm going to divide by 10. And we get negative 2.73 for x.
I think I did mine wrong.
What did you get?
That little line and then 290
Let me see. What did you type in?
plus.
Just plus? Give me your numbers.
Negative 10 plus 300.
Negative 10 plus 300?
Yeah,
Did you type in square
Okay.
root of 300?
I might have done that wrong.
That's okay.
Ignore.
Okay. So,
So do you still gotta equal this to 0? Do you still have to do the second step?
no. Because using the quadratic formula just totally gets rid of the 0. It does the work for us. We don't have to rearrange the equation at all. You just have to plug the numbers in and then that's your answers. I know. It looks crazy, but I think it's really nice. I prefer this method myself, but it does look like a lot of work. I will tell you though, it starts to get faster the more you do it. Are you getting the same numbers as us yet, Lisa? What are you typing in now?
I'm not typing in nothing yet. You want to look at it? I'll be the correction. Look at my phone. Figured it out.
Let's see. There's nothing on here.
Yeah, that's why. Because I was lost when you did it.
Okay, I'm going to display your calculator. Let's see what happens. Where's your negative symbol? Oh, negative 10 plus the square root of 300
Oh,
equal.
okay. I did mine the opposite then.
And then divide by 10. Yours is in a different form. Is your calculator in... there you go. You got the same answer as us, 0.73.
Cool.
Yours is
I
fancy.
think I did mine wrong.
Oh, that's okay.
I did it wrong.
Hey, it's the first one I showed you. I'm going to give you one that'll actually work. Guys, what do you think about this?
Let's keep working.
I
Look at that face expression.
know.
Sounds like a little kid saying that.
All right. Cheyenne, I hope you don't feel like you just walked into, like, your death. So, I am showing you guys something today that helps us solve a quadratic equation if we can't factor. This is how we do it whenever you can't factor. I'm not expecting you to know how to do this by the end of today. We're going to talk about it a bunch next week. Today's a weird day because EVSC is not in school because of the storms. So we're mostly just reviewing, and then I'm just showing you this if you're interested. But let's do another one. Let's do another one together. And we're going to rewrite the formula every single time because the more we write it, the better it sticks in our brains. And Cheyenne, you missed it. We were all singing earlier. I think I'm going to make you guys do it again.
Not all of them.
That's why I said not all.
Okay.
I probably would have been singing too.
Well, you're about to be. Just you wait.
Well, you're the little kids, you're allowed to sing.
Well, it's different for me because whenever I was at my last job, I was a kindergarten through 5th grade music teacher. And so all I did all day long was play piano and sing. Like that was it. And it's so weird not ever singing anymore. So, I don't know. You guys are letting me relive the good old days.
I would love to come to your class and play.
Hey, maybe I'll bring my keyboard in. I'll make you guys do the Hello song. You don't even know what that is.
Not that song.
Oh, you've probably seen it, haven't you?
I know that song. We had to do it in school.
You did it too?
Hello, children.
Yeah,
Okay,
we'd
I'm
say
not-
hello
no,
there.
I'm done. I
Oh,
could sing that all the time when we first come
I love
over
it.
here.
Okay, quadratic formula. One more time. We're gonna sing it again. I'm just telling you. Okay, here we go. And I'm actually going to... Nothing. I don't know what I was going to say.
Did you make me copies of the notes?
Yes.
Okay.
I can do that. So we have x equals negative b plus or minus, let me make this a little bigger, the square root. Do y'all know what a square root is?
Not a clue.
All right.
The opposite of the exponent.
Yes, it is the opposite of an exponent. The square root, when you find the square root of a number, you are trying to find the two numbers, not two numbers, the one number that when you multiply it by itself gives you this number under here. That was kind of a not great explanation, but let me give you an example. So we know that 6 times 6 is what? 36. So 6 squared is 36. So the square root of 36 is 6. This just means, what number can I multiply by itself to get to 36? 6. It's the opposite of squared, square root. We see that? So just a little FYI, a little review if you didn't remember what that meant. But back to the formula. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c. And all of that is divided by 2 times a. And I'm going to highlight my A, B, and C again with the colors because I find that helps me, so maybe it'll help you too. And again, if you need colors, there should be some at your tables, but if not, I know there's a ton of markers in that little wicker basket up at the front on the shelf. Feel free to help yourselves. Okay. And pause this video for a second. I'm going to find a problem that will actually give us a nice answer. Okay, I forgot I had that paused. Yes, we're going to solve this. And as you're writing it, I'm going to make you sing again. Echo me a little bit. X equals negative b. Beautiful. Plus or minus the square root.
Plus or minus the square root.
of b squared minus 4ac
B squared minus 4AC
all over 2a.
all over 2.
So beautiful. Oh, you guys. Okay, so first what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight in my problem and kind of label what is the values that I have for A, B, and C. So, what's my value for A?
2x.
Yeah, there's no number here, so the number is 1. That's my A. 1. So I'm going to highlight it orange. And I'm going to write A. My A is 1. What's my B? 8. And my C? 7. I don't know, I feel like I'm throwing my pens everywhere. So, I have my A, my B, and my C labeled. Now we're going to start plugging stuff in. So, I'm going to rewrite x equals and what do we put in first?
-8.
-8. Good. Negative b, so -8. Right, -8. What's next?
8 squared.
Not yet. Almost. What's next? Yeah, every single tiny baby step, plus or minus, and then what? Square root. I know it might seem like I'm being tedious about this, but I cannot stress enough how many students I see forget to do the plus or minus or forget the square root, and you'll get the wrong answer. So it's so important to do every little thing. So we have -8 plus or minus the square root of what goes next?
8.
Yes, 8 squared. Then what?
-4
Good. -4 times 1. Beautiful. Times 1 times 7.
divided by 2 times 1.
Good. All that divided by 2 times 1. And just gonna finish my color coding. Okay.
How do you know whether to do plus or minus?
You're gonna do both every time. Both every time. And you'll see that as we go through the problem. What happens is once we simplify everything, then we take that plus or minus and we separate it into 2 problems where we use a plus sign on one and a minus on the other. So you won't have to decide, you will always do both. Okay, so now I have my numbers plugged in. Using our order of operations, remembering what comes first, what should we look at first?
8 squared.
Yeah, my 8 squared. What is 8 squared? 64. And we could rewrite everything. You could also just kind of cross off and keep track up here before rewriting it all. So does this confuse anyone, me doing it like this? I'm just going to try to save a little paper space. So 8 squared is 64. What else do I need to do?
4.
-4
-4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I've got negative, or we could think of this as minus. I'm going to bring that minus up here with my 64. So 4 times 1 times 7. What does that give me?
-28.
28. Okay. So I have now under my square root, this should be 64 minus 28. And what does that equal?
36.
36? Okay. So 36 is what's going to go under my square root. Is everyone following that? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to rewrite all of my simplified stuff. I've got x equals -8 plus or minus, what do we write next?
Square root of 36.
Good, square root of 36.
Divided by 2 times 1.
Yes, divided by 2 times 1, which is what? It's just 2. So I'm going to do that now. Now, it's funny that this ended up being the problem because I just gave this to you. If we can actually find a number that works for the square root of 36, which in this case is 6, then we can get rid of the square root and make the problem a little easier. So using our order of operations, we can see like we still have a square root to do first. Can we do the square root of 36? Yeah, what is the square root of 36? 6. So let's rewrite it as -8 plus or minus 6. No square root left, over 2. We see what I just did there?
So we do -8
Mm-hmm.
plus 6.
Yes. So we could separate these. Let's do that. Now we have
-2.
plus and minus. So we have -8 plus 6 over 2. And -8 minus 6 over 2. Okay, so you said -8 plus 6 is -2. Is that our answer?
You gotta divide by
Aha, good. We still have to divide by 2. And what will that give us? -1. So we have one of our x values, and now let's do the minus. -8 minus 6, what is that? -14. And last step? Yep. Divide by 2, -7. So, our answer for this problem, we would write x equals -1 and -7. And guess what? That's exactly what we got when we factored. Did it take a little bit longer? Yes, because we're new to this. That's the only reason this took longer. We will get to a point where this takes us about 30 seconds. We'll do it so fast. But what's nice about using this method is as long as you are being careful with what you're writing, what you're typing into your calculator, and you're doing each step carefully, you can be certain that this is the correct answer. With factoring, I find that sometimes there's still a little bit of a guess going on in my brain. I'm like, okay, I think this is right, but like, I don't know the best way to check it. This feels more certain to me. That's why I like it better. But again, everyone has preferences. You might hate this, and you might like factoring more. It's really personal preference.
So I could take this right here, plug in the numbers that's on like the practice quiz.
Yep, and it'll work. Now, the only thing that's different is on the practice, like on the quiz we just took, we're not solving equations, we're just factoring. So you would end up getting the -1 and -7, but your factors would be that +1 and +7. So you're getting kind of the opposite answer by doing this, if that makes sense. Okay, what do we think? It's a lot, but it'll get easier. It will. Okay, guys. Do we want to do another one together, or do you want me to give you time to try this on your own a little bit? this is all we're really doing today. I just wanted to show it to you. You're welcome to stay and practice it. If you have things to catch up on, you can do that too. But just with EVSC not being in session today, I told you at the beginning of the year, when they are not in session, we're not doing anything serious. There's no exit ticket today. I'm happy to go through more of these, but you're also welcome to go if you want. We're going to get a little more back on track next week. This is just a crazy week. So that can be all if you guys are happy with it. I'll end our recording. If you want more, you're welcome to stay. If not, I hope you have a wonderful weekend.